Good evening, everyone. Chip Cooper for FTC Guardian and my partner, Alan Cutts. Here we are at the end of January 2018. In fact, tomorrow, I believe, is the last day. And we're, off to a great start for the 2018 year. And if you've been following us a little bit on Hangouts, you know that we have been for the last week on the Marketers Cruise, which we've attended for a long time. In fact, Alan, I think, has been 11 or 12.
10 years.
Yeah, in consecutive years. I've been 6 consecutive years, and we just got back on Sunday evening. I can say we had a pretty good time. We had a lot of business that we conducted there. We also had some fun. We went to St. Martin and St. Martin, same island, St. Kitts, San Juan, and we missed Grand Turk because it was so rough in terms of the seas. We couldn't even dock the boat, so we came back home. So that's what we've been doing, and now we're back to reality. So I'll turn it over to Alan, let him share with you some of his experiences.
Yeah, I've been gone for about 2 weeks. We went down to Florida, to Fort Lauderdale, which was where the ship went out of, and spent 4 days with my grandkids, which is great. I had I have a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and one that was born on January the 1st. So he's just, 30 days old. So it was cool to be down there for 4 days and hang out with grandkids and then get on the cruise. It was great to get around all the islands, had some great scuba diving in St. Kitts, got to do the St. Martin thing where the plane, if all you guys ever seen the YouTube videos where the plane lands over the sea, over the ocean, and right to the runway, and everybody stands there and gets all blown everywhere. So we got to go there and watch the planes land overhead as well as take off and get blown away from the fence and all that stuff. So that was a lot of fun. So we are back, and just a couple of notes is that this is the last one for January, of course. And then the next one for February, we will be doing next week. You'll get an email about that. But because of the way the month is set up, we decided we needed to do one quicker in February because we have TNC the last week of February, and we're both going to be out for a bit of TNC. So we'll be doing the first hangout in February, which will be, what is that, the 5th or 6th?
I believe it's the 6th, but it's next
the 6th. I think it's the 6th, maybe. February the 6th, I think it's Tuesday. But we'll be doing it next Tuesday, and then we'll be doing another one in like 2 weeks after that. So if you want to put that on your calendar, you'll get an email about it. So the next one will be the first one in February will be next week, which both of them are important ones. Both of the February Hangouts are very important, and Chip can tell you a bit more about that at the end of this presentation. So, Chip, you want to get rolling?
Yeah, if you guys are interested, I saw something on TV about a year ago. The 10 most unique and scariest or whatever airports in the world, and this one on St. Kitts. No, it's St. Martin.
St. Martin.
St. Martin. If you just jot this down after the hangout, right? Maho, I think it's MAHO Airport, St. Martin, and go to Google. No. Go to YouTube. And you'll see some amazing videos of planes. You almost feel like you can reach up and touch them. Very interesting, but don't do it during the hangout. But check it out afterwards. You'll be amazed. So, all right. So let's get started here. I'm going to share my screen, and you should be able to see my screen now. And you see the title there: Negative Online Reviews. Can you get them taken down? So that's what we're going to be talking about. And of course, housekeeping announcement. You've seen this before. For the presentation is for informational purposes only. It's not legal advice, and we're not affiliated with the Federal Trade Commission. So what is Yelp.com? Yelp is probably certainly one of the better known gripe sites on the internet. It enables consumers to post reviews, and they have a 5-star rating system. And you see there this clip from Yelp.com that says your first review awaits, and you can, review people. So the idea, of course, is for consumers who are unhappy, right, with maybe your service or your product or your customer service, can go here and give you a 1 star and say that you're very, very poor customer service or whatever. Not good for you, right? So that's what goes on with respect to Yelp and several other gripe sites as well. So that's part of what we're going to be talking about in this presentation. We also need to understand generally what is defamation. Defamation is essentially a false statement that damages someone's reputation. And if the statement is made orally, it's called slander. And if it's made in written form, it's called libel, right? So, go back to this slide, depending on the consumer and how angry or unhappy the consumer might be, and maybe how little judgment the consumer may have, the consumer may go here and be very emotional and write all sorts of bad things about your business. And so we're going to be talking about whether you can get this taken down from Yelp. What we're not going to be talking about is, do you have a claim, a lawsuit potentially against the person who made these false statements about you, which damaged your reputation? That would be a separate issue. We're talking here, of course, about, can you get Yelp to take this darn thing down? That's the issue here. So there's a well-known case, very recent, 2016, Kimsey versus Yelp, and it reached the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is one level below the U.S. Supreme Court. And as you can see in the first bullet, the Ninth Circuit affirmed dismissal of an action by a small business owner seeking to hold Yelp liable for a 1-star rating by a third party. And the court ruled that Yelp was immune from liability under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. So there are a number of cases, but this is probably the most recent one, where Yelp was protected by Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And usually in oral discussions about the Communications Decency Act, and certainly in written form, you'll just simply see Section 230, which is very well known among internet marketers here. So we see this case protecting Yelp. So it suggests that you may have a hard time getting Yelp to take down a negative review. And here's more detail of it. The first bullet says, Section 230 says that no provider or user, those are terms of art. The second would be of an interactive computer service, that's another term of art, shall be treated as a publisher or speaker. Third term of art, of any information provided by another information content provider. All right, let's break that down and translate it into normal language here. So the provider in this case is going to be Yelp or any other website that is the host that posts these reviews by consumers, right? They are protected, the provider of the interactive computer service. So what is the second element? What is an interactive computer service? If you look down in the third bullet, you see that the courts have been construing that term very broadly, right, to cover a lot of things. And if you look on the fourth bullet there, you'll see some of the expansive reach of what an interactive computer service is. Section 230 protects providers of gripe sites, blogs, forums, chat rooms. So it's very broad in scope as to who is protected by Section 230. So the publisher or speaker is not protected. The consumer in this case, who is providing the negative review, they may be liable for defamation. But the publisher, the provider of an interactive computer service, which hosts the comments, are protected by Section 230. And you see in the second bullet there that Section 230 preempts state law. So it's very, very important protection for interactive computer services. Again, that term very broad: gripe sites, blogs, forums, or chat rooms. So does editing void immunity? This is a danger area for any provider of the service, because limited editing, provided it doesn't really change the meaning of the content, doesn't void immunity. But if you cross the line, then you give up your protection if you're a provider. So the idea here is that any type of editing, if you're a provider of this service, any type of editing of the comment by the user or the speaker is really risky and not recommended to do. However, the rule is just a little bit of editing that doesn't change the name is probably okay and doesn't void the protection. So what do you do about negative reviews? And let's look at this. Let's actually look at this from 2 points of view. One would be, if you're the marketer, it's your product or service, and you've got a very unhappy customer, then you're going to have extreme difficulty getting Yelp or any other blog or forum on which this negative review is posted to take it down. So you're not going to be able to force these providers of interactive computer services to take this thing down. On the other hand, if you're a consumer, it's going to be up there unless you have actually crossed the line into defamation. Making a false statement that damages the reputation of somebody, you're still open for a lawsuit there if you're the person making the complaint. So that's, you've got to look at it from really two sides of the coin here. So what happens then if you are the marketer, it's your product or service, and somebody who's a customer, a very unhappy one, has made negative reviews? What should you do about them? We know now that you can't get them taken down, right? That's what Section 230 does. That's the protection. So what do? These are the bullets that really that Yelp recommends that you do. And I've done some research here, and I think these are excellent. We'll go through them one by one. Keep it simple and polite. Be honest and be straightforward. Number two, sometimes it's not to your advantage to comment at all. I mean, sometimes if the comment is so wild and so over the top as to not be credible, then if you start getting argumentative and get drawn in, it actually detracts from the overall impression here. I mean, there's certain people who are mentally unbalanced and go crazy and say crazy things. And sometimes it's better just to leave them alone, because the average consumer reading it would say, well, it couldn't be that bad, right? And then third, Yelp recommends that you should try to resolve issues through direct messaging first, and then be as polite as possible and never attack the reviewer. That's terrible, because if you get into a back and forth, he said, or that sort of thing, with personal attacks of this reviewer, who's probably a very unhappy customer, no one likes to see a business attack its own customer. So avoid that. And that, remember, the last bullet, remember that potential customers are going to be reading this thing, or might be. So you need to be very straightforward, very unemotional. Don't attack the guy, and present your case, maybe to the extent of saying we offered a refund, that sort of thing. Very factual about what you did, but no personal attacks. Certainly no personal attacks. So the takeaways here are that Section 230 protects providers and users. It does not protect publishers and speakers. And providers may edit, but they do so at their own risk, because if they get close to the line and maybe inadvertently step over and actually change the meaning of the negative post, then their protection is gone. And then number two, remember that this is a broad scope of protection for providers, gripe sites, blogs, forums, chat rooms, and many of you people as marketers, right, have blogs, forums, and chat rooms. You may not be a gripe site, but you may have those three. So you're going to be protected from people who make wild and crazy statements about someone else on your blog, forum, or chat room. So this cuts both ways. As a marketer, it can protect you, particularly if you've got your own blog, forum, or chat room. Obviously, if you're a marketer and someone posts something negative, then it's the other side of that coin. But you need to really understand Section 230 if you're a marketer. And the tags that will be entered tomorrow morning early, for searchable purposes in the members area, Section 230, defamation, interactive computer service, and negative reviews. So that concludes. I'm going to now turn back to Alan for the two of us here on the screen and open it up to questions. We certainly will be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, first one I see here is from Phil. It says, I'm confused. Section 230 says blogs or forum providers, i.e. my blog or forum, not liable for comments by visitors, but DMCA. Let's just move. Can you read that there? Can you see it or not?
DMCA is not involved. Right?
Yeah. Can you see Phil's question? It's quite long. I was just saying if you can read it there.
I don't see it. What do I click on there to see it?
Go on the right side. There's where the blue is. Can you see chat?
Which one do I click on that left on that blue? The blue.
The second one down. Looks like a little chat box. I don't know if it'll show up since you haven't had it open.
Yeah, I see it now. Is it the first one in yellow?
No, it's below that. Lauren and then Phil.
Lauren. All the protection, especially including blogs with comments.
That's Lauren. That's Lauren. The one below that. Can you see Phil?
It's Phil. Let me scroll down and see if I can see him. I'm confused. Section 230 says blog or forum provider. In other words, my blog or forum not liable for comments by visitors. Yes, that's correct so far. You've got a blog, you've got a forum, somebody comes on there and leaves a very negative review of someone else, let's say. Are you going to be liable and are you forced to take it down? The answer is no. Section 230 would protect you. You operate an interactive computer service, a blog or a forum, right? If somebody posts something there that's negative, that might allegedly injure the reputation of someone else, you're not going to be forced to take it down. That's what that initial case says that we just talked about. So you're protected. But DMCA requires several components in place, blah, blah, blah. DMCA deals with a potential claim of copyright infringement. Somebody has come on your site and posted infringing material, right? That's a copyright infringement issue. This is a defamation issue. There's someone so angry about someone else. They're lashing out and they're saying all sorts of things, probably untrue, that could damage someone else. That's defamation, right? If it's in writing, well, we've already been through that. Section 230 protects the platform on which that comment is made. It can be a blog, a forum, a chat room, or a gripe site such as Yelp. The platform itself is protected. That's the idea. DMCA, totally different. It's a copyright infringement issue. Does that help? Hopefully.
Yeah. And then Lauren is above that.
Well, let's see. Lauren. Let's see. Let me scroll up. Lauren. Blogs seem to be hard to reconcile with what we learned last year about the DCM. What's DCM? DMCA?
She may be talking about DMCA.
Something that you need to take care of as a blogger in order to be protected from unauthorized use of copyright material. Yeah, that's basically the same type of question where we're confusing DMCA with a statement that could be defamatory. Right. DMCA is dealing with someone posting infringing material on your blog or forum. Are you going to be liable for copyright infringement? The answer is no, provided you qualify for DMCA. You have the clause in your term of use and you registered, and we've talked about that at length. This is not a copyright issue, but someone saying all sorts of negative things about someone else's business, their product, their service, that could damage their business, damage their reputation. That's defamation. And they put it on your blog. Can you be forced to take it down by the injured party who's screaming, you know, this guy's lying, he's saying all these things that are not true about me, and you got to take it down. And if you don't, can you be sued and forced to take it down? The answer is no. Section 230 protects you as the platform. Right. Now, the guy who's saying all the bad things, if they're not true and they definitely injure the reputation of that other party, that speaker can be sued and recover damages can be recovered for defamation.
Right.
That was different. But the platform, Yelp in this case, a blog site, or your blog or your forum, you're going to be protected. That's a good thing. So if you're a marketer, there's a good and a bad to this whole thing, right?
Yeah. Turn down your volume on the feedback.
All right. Turn down the volume. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I can. There we go. Yeah. So Phil, the Section 230 is primarily defamation, and the DMCA is copyright.
That is correct.
So basically, just look at it like that. We got something from Tara regarding Phil's comment. If we remove the negative comment, are we in violation of 230 or any other rules?
You can remove it if you like. Yeah. The problem is, and the issue that we're dealing with here is, can you be forced to remove it? Right? I mean, if I'm the guy that's been criticized and I'm raising hell with you, take this thing down. It's not true. It injures my reputation. Can I force you to take it off your blog? The answer is no. You can do it voluntarily, but you can't. It's, you know, if Yelp could be forced to take it down, everybody who has a negative review about them would say, Yelp, take it down, and they're forced to do it. The site wouldn't be a business. So
okay, we have another one. Is Section 230? Section 230, is that a federal code?
Yes.
Yes.
Federal law, and it preempts state law, so it's equal all across the board in all states as a federal law. Okay. And if there's any state law that sort of deals in the same area, it's just going to be null and void. It'll be preempted. That's what that means. So there's also another side of this coin, I guess, and that is, this one, of course, is, can the platform be forced to take down the bad review? And we know that it cannot be forced to, because of Section 230. And if you're a marketer, it can help you if it's your blog, and it can hurt you if it's your product, right? So it's, you know, either side. But there's another thing here that's been litigated recently, and there's a federal statute on it, and it involves generally this issue of negative reviews, and that is, can you, in your customer agreement, have a clause that says anybody who's a customer, you know, when they click that, you know, I agree, that means they're bound to a contract. And if you add a clause that's essentially what is called a gag clause, meaning you agree never to post a negative review about our product or service, is that legal? And as you'll see, I believe in I've shuffled around our Hangouts because of this GDPR thing we'll probably talk about in just a minute. But I think 2 Hangouts from now, we'll get to that gag clause thing. And that sort of completes our coverage of negative reviews.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Can you buy the user? Can you buy the user that did, maybe ban the user that did the bad review if you take it down?
I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, it says buy, but I think it means ban maybe. Can you ban the user that did the bad review if you take it down? I'm sure you can ban anybody if you're using, you can ban anybody you want to, I would assume. It's your website.
Yeah, and I see Beatrix, Section 230 federal, yes. And what other questions do we have here? It's really pretty straightforward here once you sort of understand it. Yeah.
And I don't think the user, if somebody's posting stuff on your website, I can imagine that the user could sue you if you took down their post.
Yeah, if it's your blog or your forum and somebody says your service is terrible and you're not giving us refunds when you promised to do it, blah, 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 you could just take it down. The real question is, can you force Yelp to take it down? No. Yeah. Section 230 protects them.
Yeah, but if Yelp wanted to take it down, they could.
Yelp could say voluntarily, we think it's so bad that we'll
Yep.
just take it down. But Yelp is in the business of
Yep.
publishing reviews. So they're very unlikely to do it. Let's say, though, that it's somebody else's website that is not a, quote, gripe website, and somebody posts something really bad about you. I think the chances are pretty good if you contact the owner of that website and say, "Look, I'm the seller here. We tried everything. We offered and refunds. We all sorts of things to try to make this customer happy, and they're just extremely upset, and nothing works. And we'd be really appreciative if you just take it down, and I can show you evidence that that we refunded and everything." And the guy would probably say, "Sure, I'll take it down." I mean, I think the chances there are pretty good, but a gripe site such as Yelp, which has the business of posting these things, they're not going to ever take it down.
Yeah.
They could if they wanted, but they're just not. That's their business.
Yeah. And Joanne, there's a question here from Joanne is, given what you've presented, do you think it's a good or bad idea for me as a marketer to start an account on Yelp for my product or service? I just wouldn't do it. And here's why. It's too easy for people to post whatever the hell they want to post. And the second part of it is when you have no comments or no reviews, that's almost as bad as having bad reviews. So, it's kind of like you want reviews, but you don't want reviews at the same time. If you start with no reviews, somebody's is going to, if they're going to use your product and they go to Yelp to look at it and there's no reviews for your product, then that looks as bad as having bad reviews. And unless it's a restaurant, my wife and I are scuba divers. It's a service where people actually go to find out about the scuba diving service that you're providing or something like that. If it's just a product, I wouldn't really, I would not go to Yelp for a product or service. If it's a, like a hotel or a car rental company or something like that, sure. But just for a given product, I wouldn't even be concerned about it. I would use, things like Facebook where you can get some good feedback. People can rate you, give you stars and stuff like that. If I did anything at all like that. What about one-star book reviews on Amazon? Should authors bother trying to get such reviews improved or just remove them?
Well, Amazon's not going to remove them, right? Yeah. They have them up there, good and bad and indifferent. They have them there. Secondly, they're protected by Section 230. You can't force them to take them down. So I think you just sort of have to live with it. Maybe you can encourage customers who really like your book to go in there and say, in fact, I've read some of those where somebody says, I don't understand the negative comments because I read the book and it really was good and it helped me out in certain ways, et cetera, et cetera. And the negative comments don't make sense to me. I've seen a lot of reviews like that. I've seen things on Amazon like that. I like to read the reviews on Amazon, and I'll see somebody saying, I don't really understand all the comments that are negative about this particular aspect of a product because I've used it myself and I found it very helpful. So, encourage some people to go give the other side of the story. I think that's the better approach. So, any other questions?
No, I am just.
You're checking.
No.
So, can we segue just briefly into GDPR and how we're going to sort of work that into the Hangouts?
Yeah. Okay. So, everybody, first I'm going to publish a poll, and if you guys will answer the poll as Chip starts to talk briefly about GDPR and what we'll be talking about next month. We did this in the 1st of January. We asked everybody which time they prefer, whether it's the 7 p.m. time frame or the 8 p.m. time. So if you would just briefly answer the poll when I publish it and let us know. Obviously, everybody here is on at 8 o'clock, so it might be skewed more towards the 8 o'clock time frame versus 2 weeks ago, everybody was skewed more. That's what it's right now. Everybody's 8. Last time it was 4. And we told everybody at 7 o'clock last week. Look, if you really want 7 o'clock, you're going to have to make the 8 o'clock time so you can push the vote back towards 7. So because what we're doing is, if everybody would prefer 7 all the time, that would be fine. But we're doing the 7 and 8 7 in the beginning of the month and 8 after the month to try to satisfy both our East Coast fans, our European fans, and stuff like that, as well as the West Coast side as well. So right now we're at 60-40, 80 at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock is 60, 40 for 7 o'clock. But go ahead and vote.
Vote
Yeah,
only one.
Yes, and all times are Eastern time. So it's 7 or 8 Eastern. So go ahead, Chip. You want to start talking briefly about?
I'm not going to go into any detail of this. GDPR is an acronym for a European regulation, and the acronym stands for General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. And the idea is, and you need to, if you're saying to yourself right now, well, this doesn't involve me because I don't sell to Europeans, and I don't have a branch office over there, right? So this doesn't apply to me. Well, not so fast, because if you're processing data of EU data subjects, meaning anyone who lives over there, not necessarily a citizen, somebody living in France, for example, if you're collecting and processing data, or some of you may be providing services to a business whose customers may be located there. So because you're providing services such as software as a service and you're processing data of a customer who has customers over there, you could be receiving from your customer personal information of EU data subjects collected by your customer. So you're sort of getting it secondhand, but it doesn't matter. If you're processing it, even though not originally collected by you, but collected by your customer, you're regulated. And also, if you're involved in retargeted ads, you're likely regulated as well. So we're going, and it becomes effective on June 25th of this year. So we've got some time, and we're going to have, I believe, in the next 2 Hangouts, a couple of introductory Hangouts to you start thinking about this and specifically about what you need to do. My guess is that some of the larger companies have been working for a year and a half to get ready for this. I was at a legal conference last year when they were all wringing their hands with concerning about it. The smaller companies probably don't worry that much. I talked to people on the cruise. Some were terribly concerned, and some said, oh, I don't care. It doesn't apply to me, when I really believe it probably does. So we'll give you the background that you need and acquaint you with it and sort of get you moving along the pathway. And then we'll see how that develops. So that's going to be coming along the way too very soon, and then some follow-ups a little bit later before June 25th. So that's what it is. It is GDPR. It's a big thing. It's going to, over the next couple of years, change dramatically the way you market your products and services. I guarantee you that. Sometimes we're not quite sure exactly how, but it's going to be really significant. So that's sort of an introduction, and we'll get to it next week.
Yeah, next week we'll start talking about it next week. So it's real important. I mean, it's nothing that you have to do today, other than you have to start to think about it. You have to kind of start to think, okay, if somebody lands on my website, you don't have to be advertising to them. Let's say somebody just lands on your website through a Facebook post or SEO or something like that, and they're from the European Union, and you've got a pop-up that says, get my ebook or get whatever. There are going to be certain rules and regulations that apply to you because you've got a pop-up and you're going to collect their name and email address, even though you weren't advertising to them or anything. Just because they're sitting in Europe, you're going to have, you technically need to obey by their rules and regulations. And it's really no different than if you're abroad and you're selling to customers in the United States, you have to comply with the FTC rules and regulations. So it's just kind of one of those things that you're going to have to suck it up and learn how to.
Yeah, except it's a big thing, and we're all going to be dealing with it, and we're going to help you along the way comply with it. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
So we're going to work with you on it. Okay.
Robert, any news about the certification program? Yeah, we've got great news. We're still working on it.
Yeah. Well.
Chip has one more course, right?
I thought, but then we went to an event in December, and there were a lot of questions about not the compliance stuff, because that had already been covered. All those videos had been shot and the tests created and all of that. But agencies had a lot of questions about what they should be doing other than just being compliant, right? I mean, how should I conduct my agency? Should I buy insurance? You know, the ultimate answers, that sort of the silver bullet question, what in the world do I do to protect myself other than just being compliant? And I hadn't covered that in the program. Unfortunately, I've been involved in several projects that have taken me off. You know, it's not that I've been not doing anything. I've been working pretty hard on some stuff, training and a lot of other things. So
I think it was
I'm
GDPR.
going to get back to it, because we're going to be headed to, in fact, Alan said TNC, which a lot of people understand means traffic and conversions.
Right.
A huge event on the West Coast, usually in February of every year. So we're going to get finished by then.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do any new projects. I'm not doing any new projects until I finish it. Okay. So you got my promise.
Is anybody here going to TNC? If you're going to TNC, just kind of give us a yes in the chat box. We will have a booth there. And, you know, please come by and see us if you're going to be there. We'll be there for 4 or 5 days.
Saying yes?
That's a delay, so that maybe a little while.
Okay, so here, by all means, if you're attending TNC, please stop by our booth. We'll have a little gift for you. And you'll like it. And we can talk and answer questions, and we're just happy to see you anyway. It seems like everywhere we go, when we least expect it. I had 4 or 5 people come up to me on the cruise and say, "Hi, my name is so-and-so." I said, "Well, good. Nice to meet you. We're members of FTC Go." I said, "Oh, great. We love you." So, yeah, be sure to stop by. We'd love to meet you and talk with you.
Okay.
All right.
That's all I have. Yep.
That's all I have. Good night, everyone. Have a very pleasant evening. We'll see you in about a week.
Good night.
Good night.